Welcome back to Philosophy 264 Critical Thinking. This video will be an overview of Chapter 4, Definition. Definition is crucial to critical thinking. It is crucial to any thinking. Definition is central to the Socratic method. Most of Socrates' dialogues revolve around defining things. This is because unless you're able to define something, you do not know it. What Socrates was searching for were essential definitions, that is, a definition that tells us what a thing is, its essence. The rules of definition. There are 6 rules for a good definition. A definition should be coextensive with the thing defined, neither too broad nor too narrow. 2. A definition should be clear, not obscure. 3. A definition should be literal, not metaphorical. 4. A definition should be brief, not long. 5. A definition should be positive, not negative, if possible. 6. A definition should not be circular. Or we can condense these to 3. A definition must be coextensive with the thing defined, clear, literal, and brief, not negative or circular. There are also different kinds of definition. There are nominal definitions. This is the definition of a word rather than the thing designated by the word. Within this kind are conventional definitions and stipulative definitions. In mathematics, for example, you often find stipulative definitions, such as, let us define X as such. Or in economics or in any other technical discipline, we simply define something X as this. This doesn't necessarily mean it's an essential definition, but it's a good enough definition in order to solve the problem at hand or to clarify the situation. There are essential definitions, which is composed of a genus plus specific difference. The most effective definition is the essential definition. Constructing an essential definition in theory is very easy. It is simply the genus plus the specific difference. So, for example, a triangle is a 3-sided plane figure. This is an essential definition. What you have is the genus, plane figure, with the specific difference, 3-sided. Or the human being is a rational animal. You have the genus, animal, and the specific difference, rational. But in practice, this is very hard because one has to really know the essence of something in order to define it. One could define something by properties, by the different essential characters that are characteristics that something may have. The human being is a being with a sense of humor, for example, or a triangle is a figure whose internal angles add up to 180 degrees. By accidents, we could simply define a human being as a being that is hairy, 2-footed. That is, well, of course, that could be property. So, as you can see, these can sometimes overlap. But we can give a whole set of characteristics of something by the accidents that it has. By efficient cause, by what brought the thing defined into being. By final cause, that is, by what the thing defined is for. A chair is a piece of furniture for sitting, for example. By material cause, that is, by what the thing defined is made of. So, an axe is always of iron. By effects, that is, by what the thing defined causes. So, an eclipse is something that causes the sun's light to be shut out on a certain part of the earth. The limits of definition. Some things cannot be defined. These are the infinite. The infinite cannot be defined simply because a definition requires some sort of limit, some sort of, define, has thinness or end or limit in it, and therefore the infinite is something that cannot be defined. There's nothing outside the infinite that could limit what it is so that we can define it. Individuals cannot be defined because individuals are unique and therefore they do not fall under a certain genus or species. The highest genera, that is, the most general characteristics of things, cannot be defined. Being itself is something that cannot be defined because outside of being, there is literally nothing. So there can be no specific difference outside of being by which being could be defined. And the transcendental properties of being, the one, the true, the good, and the beautiful, are things that cannot be defined because they are synonymous with being itself. So, to give an example of why definition is so important, in 2006 there was actually a great debate among the astronomers at the International Astronomical Union meeting in Prague, Czech Republic, in August of 2006 over defining what a planet is. This involved actually a great deal of heated debate, and this was very important because it is very important for scientists to be able to classify what they are looking at and what they are working on. Of course, this was the meeting by which Pluto was demoted from planet to a dwarf planet. And the definition of planet set in Prague, the Czech Republic, in 2006 states that in the solar system, a planet is a celestial body which is A, in orbit around the sun, B, has sufficient mass to assume hypostatic equilibrium, that is, to have a nearly round shape, and has cleared the neighborhood around its orbit, that is, it itself has gravity strong enough that it's able to repel other objects around it. A non-satellite body fulfilling only the first two of these criteria is classified as a dwarf planet, so that it orbits around the sun and has sufficient mass to assume hydrostatic equilibrium. According to the IAU, planets and dwarf planets are two distinct classes of objects. A non-satellite body fulfilling only the first criterion is termed a small solar system body, SSSB. An alternate proposal included dwarf planets as a subcategory of planets, but IAU members voted against this proposal. The definition was a controversial one and has drawn both support and criticism from different astronomers, but has remained in use. According to this definition, there are 8 known planets in the solar system. Definition distinguishes planets from smaller bodies and is not useful outside the solar system where smaller bodies cannot be found yet. Extrasolar planets or exoplanets are covered separately under a complementary 2003 draft guideline for the definition of planets, which distinguishes them from dwarf stars, which are larger. So here you can find an Euler diagram of the definition. We will be looking at Euler diagrams in the next lecture. So here, of course, you have the different bodies of planets, the different classes or groups of objects, planets, dwarf planets, small solar system bodies. Then off on the right-hand side, you have natural satellites. And among dwarf planets, you have minor planets. You have trans-Neptunian objects, those that exist beyond the orbit of the planet Neptune, which includes also some small solar system bodies as well as natural satellites. And then within trans-Neptunian objects, you have the Plutoids, those dwarf planets that are like Pluto. And then among small solar system bodies, you have comets, centaurs, and minor planets as well. So here you see all the different classes and their overlapping characteristics. So in other words, having to define something is not something simply confined to critical thinking as such or as a separate discipline, but it cuts through all disciplines, whether one is in business, law, or in this case in the sciences like astronomy. Being able to construct a good definition and to know what a good definition is absolutely crucial to success in one's field. Thank you.